this rubber. So we'll kind of, that didn't work. Okay. Well, that one's junk. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm working on the brown Ford pickup. I am going to attempt to put a Lockerite locker in the front end. So I've got the Lockerite locker, both sides of it here. It's brand new, and it's bought for this pickup, so I'm hoping the splines are right. That would be the only thing that would keep me from putting it in there. So I got to start with pulling this. I'm going to pull the driver's side apart, pull that inner axle out, and check the splines. If the splines are right, I will continue with the disassembly. So anyway, we'll get started on that and see how that goes. I got that axle out. Looks like I need seals in that third member. It's leaking. It's probably never been apart before 1985. So I'm gonna make sure this spline's the right one. Looks like it is. Cool. I'm gonna continue on. Gonna be fun to get out of there. She's pretty rusty. May have to use a little heat. Oh yeah, those are done. It's nothing but rust. I mean, it's still got needles in it, but they're done. Take a little sandpaper, clean those out, get the rust out of them. Makes them go back together better with the new joint. Alright, I got that third member out. I just used a floor jack. I didn't film it because I'm by myself, so I didn't want to film that and end up with the thing laying on the camera or on the floor. So anyway, the third member's out. It's here. Show you real quick. Clean my hands off enough I can touch the camera. So this is what it looks like. This is the gears for the front axle. And they all look really good. They're all in good shape. I mean, it's nice in there, nice and clean. No rust. It had oil in it, so basically what we're doing to put a locker in is we're taking, there's a shaft that runs through the middle, that's got to come out, and these gears have to come out. And then once they're out of there, we can put the locker in it, and that just goes right back where those are. But I got to reseal this. This seal right here was leaking. This one is, it's dry still, but it's going to be right. I'm just going to do it because I got to pull the axle out anyway. I'll put a pinion seal in it while I got it apart. We'll get it all cleaned up and try to make it look as nice as possible. So figured out probably why the front end was leaking. This is the vent. It was plugged up. Alright, so I had to set the carrier in my vise. sitting straight up with the gears up. 2 pry bars underneath the flange here. Just kind of wiggled it and she came loose. So I'm about to get it out of here. It's fits tight. Alright. So we'll make sure we keep these on their same side. That's the carrier. Now I can pull the ring gear off. What are the odds that's just going to fall right off there? Ha! Ha! Blind squirrel gets a nut once in a while. I can't believe that just fell right off there. Okay. Back in there for a second. Now, I'm going to drive this roll pin out, take this center part out. Roll pin. Cheap tools for the win. This is the main pin that holds the spider gears into the carrier. Still looks pretty good. And it's got a little bit of polish on it, but it's not bad. It's not all wore out anyway. There's one. That's got the shim on it. Gonna want to save those. There's the shim on that one. It's got a thrust washer on it, sucked on there with grease or oil, like hydro locked. Can't get my fingers under it. Yeah. That is the thrust washer. Just want to save those. We want to put them back on the side they came from. So this one will be over here. It's my other thrust washer, so it'll go on this side. So now I should be able to set these in, put the thrust washer on it. That one goes on that side. Now this one. They go in there like that. There we go. Okay, so they go in with the thrust washers just like the stock spider gears did. Make sure I got both of those. I did. Okay. Now for this part. Never done one of these, so this is my first time. So YouTubed it, been reading the directions, just trying to make sure I do it right, so this doesn't come apart. So I'm putting just some grease on these teeth here, where they're going to be together inside there. Dropped a little bit of grease in each hole. Now it's greasy and hard to hang on to. So these pins go there, there. Now for the fun part. Alright, I had to make a run to the parts store, make sure I could get everything. Go ahead and start putting this back together. So I got all the seals, U-joints, and I'm going to start putting these springs in. I already had one go zinging across the room, so that was kind of neat. I'm going to try not to do that again. Okay, so that one's in. So you got to separate this so that that pin drops. There's a pin in here, it's got to drop, so this spring has room to go in. So this little dowel pin in here has got to drop down. So it goes in. This is what keeps these working together. And then the spring just goes in right on top of that. Just like the other side goes in and compresses in there. So kind of interesting. Alright, I'm down to putting the pin back in it to hold it all together. So you want to make sure this lines up with your hole. It's going to be on this side. So that when you put it back together, the roll pin goes back in. Yeah, on there, sucker. Now we can drop the ring gear back on. I'm going to take the ring gear, I'm going to wash it real good with some brake cleaner, get the holes cleaned out. I'm going to wash the bolts so I can put Loctite on them. I want to Loctite those. Alright, I got the ring gear set back on here. Put it back mark for mark there so it's in the right place. I'm going to use some thread locker orange. So just put a dab of orange on them. So I'm going to torque these down. Put a little bit of grease on these bearings, and I'm going to go ahead and put the races back on, and then we'll slide this third member back in, put the caps back on, and start getting her bolted down. Put a tiny little bit of grease on them so that they're not spinning for the first time with no oil. They're not dry. Came out pretty stiff, but it's rubber, so we'll kind of that didn't work. Okay, well that one's junk. Good thing it's a snap-on. Well, I went and grabbed a different one. That other one just grenaded. That wasn't any good. So yeah, I'll take that back to snap-on. But anyway, I've got this tapped in here. Get the bearing caps on it, and we'll get it sucked down in there. I'm going to do the same with these bolts. I'm going to put a little bit of Loctite on them. Just to keep them from falling out. A good practice one because it's the front differential. So if the thing grenades for some reason, I can always unlock the hubs and take it out of four-wheel drive and get home. I'll use a ratchet to tighten these to get them down where everything's seated. I don't want to put that air gun on there and end up breaking something or twisting something or galling the bearing. Okay. Alright, the bearing caps are torqued. I'm going to go ahead and drop the pinion bearing back in it. Throw a little grease on it. Keep it happy. We got a thrust washer that goes behind it. that the back of our yoke goes up against to push the bearing in. We'll put a seal in this, put the yoke on it, tighten the nut down, spray a little brake clean on this rag. Just get any oil off. I'll use a clean rag. Wipe her down. Just a little extra. A little dabble do. Yabba dabba do. Something. We'll just take and smear that around. Make it pretty. Okay, and this goes in this way. So if they gave me the right one, it should go in. Put a little grease on this. Grease this up good. This is our yoke to the driveline. Go ahead and slip it on here. Washer, big nut, and go till she's tight. That is tight. Now, check our backlash here. Should be nice. Good and tight. I didn't change anything spacer wise. All the spacers are right back in it that were in it. So we should be, yeah, that's, you just want a tiny little bit so it's not tight. That's this cute little guy. Goes in there like so. A little bit of grease on the bearing. Spread that around nice. It's so nice. Alright. Now this one goes in. Right there. That's this one. Kind of a cup looking thing. It's got to fit on this axle. Looks like it does. Very nice. Okay. Same thing, we'll silicone it. Seals are always fun to drive in. Come on, baby. Okay, so there's that one. She's all sealed up. A little bit of nasties that I mixed there. Flip her back over. Take a little bit of grease. Grease these seal faces so the axles slide in them good, it doesn't tear it. They'll get oiled from behind while it's running, but before that you want it to be good. Now I got to put together the U-joints on the axles, the inner axles. I'll get the U-joints put in, and then that short shaft has to be put in here, and then we can put this back in the truck. So that's good news. What I'm going to do is use the vise here to push it together. This grease is on the end cap, so you don't have to position a certain way. Slide that in there. Get it out here far enough where the cap will slide on nice and neat. Okay, I think the clip will go in it there. Definitely a perfect fit. Oop, back here, you. Slippery little devil. Okay. Looks like our clip popped in. Check it. Just to be sure. Okay. Yeah, I don't need to whack it. She's happy. I got one more to do, then we'll start putting this front end back together. Alright, I'll show you what I got down here. This is the inside of the axle. So that big third member I've been working on the bench bolts in here. And this is all the axle housing. And so I'm going to take some silicone. I'm going to go around this real good. I'll put some on the axle housing out there. And then I'm going to wrestle that thing in here. So that should be real fun. Stuff's always fun all by yourself. What you need to do, let's go. Try not to drop this thing. Problem is I can't run the jack. Gotta go in just right. That's good. That can go up. Hold that there. There's 100 things in the way. Should be able to wiggle that sucker. Fall on my head. There we go. There she is. Okay. Uh-oh. You tipped over. Alright, I got that wrangled up in. I got one bolt started. I'm going to try to get a bolt here. Got one of the bolts on the back side, so we'll see if I can't get one here. I don't think I'm super far off. Give this a little bit of goody before I stick it in there. see. Oh, oh. Okay, I know that was a close-up of my armpit, but I got a bolt started. So I'll go around, put all the other bolts in, and we'll tighten her down. Okay, I got all the bolts put in this front end. So they're all in there and snug down. I'm going to take the jack out from under it, and then I'm going to snug them down with the air wrench to make sure they're good and tight. Then we can put this front end back together. All right, I got the passenger side put together. I'm gonna go ahead and do this driver's side, and I'll video it so you can kind of see how it goes. I got the axle in and the spindle bolted on. I need to tighten it down still. Could aim that better if you try. Get this surface clean. Here, this is where the dust seal sits. So I want to make sure it's clean. And I'm going to real quick pack my bearings. My bearings were packed about 6,000 miles ago. So I'm not going to get overzealous with it, but I'm just going to put more grease in them, make sure they're full, smear some around the outside, and put them back on so I know that they're good. But to get this one out, I'm going to set this on here all the way, grab the wheel nut, and it's nasty. Getting excited about this, getting this thing together, see how this locker does for the front of this pickup. It'll be interesting to see how it does. I've never run one of these lockers, see how it holds up. I don't have a very heavy right foot, so hopefully it doesn't just come apart. This nut, you'll get it started. Basically thread it on a few threads just so it doesn't pull the threads. Grab a hold of this and kind of let it hang. Just like that. That pulled the bearing out with the grease seal. So we just take this nut back off. Doesn't hurt anything to do it that way. I've done it that way my whole life. It's how I was taught. So we'll take this. They're pretty full of grease. I'm going to go ahead and just put some more in them. I don't have a bearing packing tool. I should buy one. They're probably dirt cheap. Here's how I was taught to do it. Little bearing in your hand, 3 fingers inside that one, and just start squishing that grease in. And you'll see it pop up through the, you'll see it coming up right here. That means that section's full. Move around. I'm just taking little bites of the grease. Move around. See how it's squishing through? Just like that. I think they make a little plastic one with a plunger. It's probably way quicker and probably a lot cleaner. But it's the way I've always done them. It's messy. Like I say, these were just packed not that long ago, so it doesn't take much to. They're good. We'll just take the extra grease on my hand. What's inside here, we'll just rub it around. Normally when I pack these, if it's been a while, I'll clean this all out with brake cleaner, get the bearing completely clean, put all brand new grease in it. But like I said, I just packed these not that long ago, and I'm just going to go with it. So that's what you end up with on your hands. It's pretty nice. So we'll sacrifice a rag here. Get that goo off. my hands too clean because I got to do the inner bearing real quick, or the outer bearing. I'm sure guys do this cleaner than I do, but I get it done. Okay, now we can take this. It's still clean. That's good, clean grease. Just leave that right on there. Tap that into the housing there. Take a little bit of clean grease, put on this, where that's going to run. A little bit of clean grease right there. So we'll get that slid on, then I'll pack the outer bearing, then we can put this hub together. I'm not a mechanic by any sense of the word. I'm a truck driver, but I've worked on stuff my whole life, and we've always done it a certain way. It's how I was taught. Some things I've probably forgotten more than Dad ever tried to teach me, but anyway, I kind of just do it how I learned it, and I'm sure there's a lot of mechanics out there, and if you're watching this, I'm sorry. But I'll get it done. It'll be safe, and it'll be right. So anyway, that's my my public service message. Slide this on all the way like that. Let her hang there. Here's the outer bearing. Still super full of grease and a dog hair. That helps lube it up. Alright, squirt a little of the goodness in my hand here. We'll do the same thing with this one. I'll just make sure it's full. There's that spacer again. As that grease gushes up through, just move around. I used black colored wheel bearing grease last time. This time it's gold color. So it's not black because it's full of dirt. It's black because it was black wheel bearing grease. It's just what I had then, and this is what I have now. Alright, she's squished up through there nice. Take and coat it good. Kind of make the outside nice. Just like that. We got greased pack bearings. It is messy. I've never been afraid to get grease on my hands. I'm going to clean up too much here, because I got this that's got to go on. Find my notch. Notch is at the bottom. It's got a little tooth on it. It's got to go in a certain spot. Problem is my fingers are too big. It's hard to get everything pushed in there. There, finally. Okay, now the nut will go on. And these nuts are, you can see the marks in them. I've got a socket. This socket has those same, so it fits on there just like that. I have an easier time starting it by hand for some reason. Once it's started, socket on it. Sheesh, birds are going crazy outside. I have to do these by feel. This is the inner nut. So you don't want to just crank it down tight. You want to go down until it stops. I don't know what those birds are doing out there. They're making a racket. Spin your hub back and forth a couple times. Give her a little more. Spin it. You want a little bit of preload on the bearings. You don't want it tight or burn the bearings out. Okay, I like that. That feels good. Now, this little spider looking gizmo goes on. And it's built to these little tabs, they bend over the outside nut. So you want to put it on with them facing out. And it's also got a tooth, so it's got to sit in there the right way, like that. There's my outer nut, same nut as the inner nut, same style. This one you'll crank down as tight as you can get it, because it's what holds everything nice and tight. Got that tight. Now I'm going to reach in there and bring those little deals back if I can. There we go. Spin them down against the nut. Helps keep it from coming loose. Now you put the hub back together. This is the hub. It's pretty good and greasy. That's good. Just stick her back in. Just like that. Lock ring, keep in place. It's like that inner one I'll have to pull out on the axle a little. Get the axle shaft out. There's a snap ring that goes there. These can kind of be a pain. Yeah. Better on their own. Then you just want to look and make sure that seats all the way around. Looks like it dropped right in. It's happy. Now, got a snap ring. Just got to make sure. I got to push that axle out towards me here. Back there. Snap ring pliers. You have to get physical. There we go. That popped her out enough. There, she's in her home. That's its happy place. Okay. Then I got this little spring. Chunk it back in. Clean that off a little bit. That goes in. Cute little screw here that holds this in. Okay, that holds that in there. Now, hands are filthy again. This stuff's dirty. Time for the hub. Everything looks good. Lined up, dropped in. This is tight. I got to put oil in the front end. And I'm going to change some tie rod ends. I found a bad one on here, and this drag link on this side is bent. So we'll go with the new one. Everything good again. Get my alignment real close just by tape measure, and then I want to finish building my bumper. I'm going to add some more weight to the front. Once that's done, I can take it down and have it aligned. And if anybody knows how to align this old truck still, you want to kind of go over these several times, because as it pulls in, they loosen up. So you just want to check them. Not overly tight, but you gotta throw the brake caliper back on. I'm gonna need a clean rag. Ooh. Wash this rotor off so it's not greasy from my greasy fingerprints. Get everything clean again. Hit the back side. Like that. Goes like that. Missing my lid. Flip my lid. Okay. I'm going to put some NICs on these slides here, so everything's nice and slickery. One down here. Put a little on this. Little on this. Now, looks like my dealie came apart here. There she goes. There she's happy. There. Now, if that'll stay there, this next part on my creeper. Smoothed. Don't want to be smoothed. This is the keeper that keeps your brakes on, so you want to anti-seize that sucker. Ratchet. Okay. All right. Okay, that's that. NICs, typical, all over you. Clean up my mess here. All right, well, got that done. Torqued all the lug nuts and took it for a test drive. The battery ran out on the camera, so I didn't show all that. I got the toe end set. I'm an 1/8 wide in the back of the front tires, and so it should be pretty dang close. I'm just gonna drive it for a little while, see how it acts. And the locker does what it should. Had it locked into 4-wheel drive, hubs in, 4-wheel drive in, and it was definitely locking the front end up. So that's good, just what we wanted. And when you let off, it lets it slip. So I ran it with the hubs in up around the block, you know, about 1.5 miles here. 2 miles or so. Got the front end warm and checked for leaks. Everything looks good. So we're going to call that a win and see how it does for us. It'll be interesting to see once we go up in the woods what we end up with. So it definitely locks that front end up, you know, full time. She's pulling with both of them, so that's good. It's what we wanted. So anyway, we'll call that a video, and we thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to our videos if you haven't already, and we'll bring you some more content. We'll see you on the next one. Thank you.